Bible, your life will end in vain. It will what? Your life will end in vain. Unless you read and follow the Bible, your life will end in vain. Read Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 6 again. Fine. See, half Mexican flag, half American flag. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. I'm watching you. Obviously, you want to be seen. You're walking down Hollywood Boulevard so people can see your flag. You got anytime you open your mouth and say something more and more simple, man. You're walking down Hollywood Boulevard with a half Mexican and half American flag, but you want people to see it. Right. You watching me, I'm not watching you. But then burn the damn flag. Right. Like if that's the case, burn the damn flag. Who is reading? Right. Like God, Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 6. Read. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, verse 6. For though a man be never so perfect among the children of men, he waving it, but I'm watching. You want to be watched. Right? God, yeah. If thy wisdom be not with him. Hey, that's a man right there. The Lord's wisdom is not with that man. Who's going to do for the time? The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, verse 6. For though a man be never so perfect among the children of men, yet if thy wisdom be not with him, here's a man who doesn't have the wisdom of the Most High, obviously. Here's a man that don't have the wisdom. God, he shall be nothing regarded. There's a man that's going to be nothing regarded, man. There you go. There's a man that's going to be nothing regarded. I'm going to go to my business, you stay here. Huh? I'm going to go to my business I own, and you stay on the boulevard. All right, what's your business, right? Oh, yeah. Okay, come on. When you promote your business, I'll promote your continue on the article. You see how the Spirit had to print this article, and an article is actually saying stuff that's actually written in the scripture, damn near verbatim. But read it. What makes the Bible superior to all other books? Yeah, go ahead. The Bible is like no other book in the world. Is what? The Bible is like no other book in the world. Why? It was not authored by man. It was what? It was not authored by man. But by God, and by who? But by God himself. The most high power of Israel, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom the world ignorantly calls God. Yeah. That is why the Bible is called God's Word. Yeah. Or the Holy Scriptures. Or what? Or the Holy Scriptures. The Bible tells how God created the universe. The Bible tells how God created the universe. Hebrews 11, the earth, and mankind. The mysteries in Genesis and 2nd Ezra. God. It tells the story of mankind's first sin. It tells what? It tells the story of mankind's first sin. I said the Bible is also known as the Holy Scriptures. Read to that. The book of 2 Timothy, chapter 3, verse 16. All scripture, come on. All scripture is given by inspiration of the Most High. All scripture is given by the inspiration of the Most High. That's why it's also known as the Holy Scriptures. Right. And it is profitable and is profitable for doctrine. For what? For doctrine. For reproof. For correction. For instruction in righteousness. That the man of the Most High, that the man of the Most High, God, may be perfect. May be what? Perfect. Thoroughly furnished unto all good work. That's what the Bible does for you, man. That's why it's called the Holy Scriptures. Because it's able to make you thoroughly furnished unto all good works. And even a damn false, even my Christian group knows that. Now, come on. God. I'm sorry. Because he loved us. I'm sorry. The Bible tells how God created the universe, the earth, and mankind. It tells the story of mankind's first sin and how God How the Most High, because he loved us, made a way of salvation. Right, the us are the Israelites. Because he loved us, he made a way of salvation. Come on. Through his son, Yahushua Mashiach. The Most High did not write the Bible with his own hand. He used faithful, holy men who loved him as writers of his word. And what? He used faithful, holy men who loved him as writers of his word. Now read the scripture. Read the scripture. God, you brought book of 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 21. For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man. The prophecy, the Bible didn't come by the will of man. Go ahead. But holy men of the Most High spake as they were moved by the Holy Ghost. And the holy men of the Most High spake as they were moved by the Holy Spirit. So even the damn Mennonite white, so-called white Christian group understands that. We don't want to God. God. The Most High did not write the Bible with his own hands. He used faithful, holy men who loved him as writers of his word. He inspired these men and gave them a message to write. Among the writers were men with common occupations. Others worked in high positions. Each writer, whether a king, a shepherd, a doctor, or a fisherman, faithfully wrote the Most High's message. And did what? Faithfully wrote the Most High's message. Give me Jeremiah 30 and 2. See that? They're backing it up. No matter what stature the men was on, no matter what walk of life, they were moved by the Spirit of the Lord to write what he said. Not what their own thoughts, their own mind, to write what the Most High power of Israel said. Read. Continue on. The Bible was written over a period of many years in different languages and in various countries. The Bible is divided into two parts, the Old and the New Testament. The first book of the Old Testament was penned about 3,500 years ago. The New Testament, also known as the Gospel, was written about 2,000 years ago. Give me Jeremiah 30 and 2. Read. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 30 and verse 2. Thus speaketh the Most High, all power of Israel, saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee. So whatever Jeremiah just felt like saying for the day. Jeremiah just wanted to get some stuff off his chest. What is that? Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. In a what? In a book. But the most important thing is, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto you in a book.
Okay. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Got Elder Priest Zabak holding it down over there in Cali, Hollywood Boulevard, waking up our people. You know what I'm saying? First and foremost, let's give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahushai. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahushai being the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Kom Yashala, Shalom, double elders to our elders out there continuing to do the work, as you can see, waking up our people, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who are the real Israelites, the real Jews, according to the Bible. I'm your host, Kasadia. This is the Wednesday wake-up call where we take current events and tie them to biblical prophecy. Just coming off of the new moon. Hopefully your new moon was everything that you wanted it to be. All right. And we're gonna get started. Okay. This class is called Mental Illness. We're actually in Mental Illness Awareness Month, which so happens to coincide with Pride Month. You know what I mean? But mental illness is a serious thing in our community, and it's something that we don't talk about a lot. And for reasons of, being ostracized or looked down upon, but mental illness is pretty much prevalent in every home that you can imagine. You know what I'm saying? Here living in Babylon, to know somebody who isn't suffering from mental illness is rare. And also, people could be suffering from mental illness and you know, not wanting to tell anybody, you know what I mean? So there would be suffering in silence due to uh the ostracization that occurs when talking about it. Okay. Also, we're going to watch some videos as well. So, of course, I have to say Fair Use Act, Fair Use Act. This video is protected by the Fair Use Act. This is a teaching class, a teaching moment. So this is protected by the Fair Use Act. This is for educational purposes only. Let's begin. Let's go to Mark chapter 5 and verse 2. We're going to give an example of mental illness in the scriptures and see if we can get we can tie it in to what's being talked about. Okay. Okay, this is Saint Mark chapter 5 verse 2. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him a man, Slaki. They met him out of the tombs, a man with an unclean spirit. Verse 3, who have his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains. So this person was very strong. You cannot bind him. Has an excessive amount of strength. You know what I mean? Where do we see that at? If you ever seen the movie The Exorcist, where Linda Blair was just throwing up, but she was throwing the priest against the wall, and you know what I mean? They put straps around her arms to hold her down, and then you know, supernaturally, right? The straps just fell off, you know what I mean? Got ripped off. So this person is dwelling among the tombs. So this person is in, you know, with the you know, like a cemetery, you know what I mean? Dwelling amongst a cemetery, extremely strong. Keep that in mind. Keep going. Because that he had been often bound with feathers and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the feathers broken in pieces, neither could any man tame him. Verse 5, and always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs crying and cutting himself with stones. So what is he doing? He's cutting himself, self-mutilation, you know what I mean? That is something that does occur. People are, we call cutters, you know what I'm saying? And as you see in this description, this man is a cutter. Continue on. But when he saw Yahushua afar off, he ran and worshipped him and cried with a loud voice and said, what have I to do with thee, Yahushua, thou son of the Most High God? I adjourn thee by God, it's like I adjourn thee by the Yahweh, that thou torment me, that torment me not. Okay, so at this time, and now back then 2,000 years ago, the earth is given to the hands of the wicked. You know what I mean? So they are all over. You know what I'm saying? Righteousness isn't abounding at this time period. You know what I mean? It's a lot of wickedness. Okay. The Romans are in power at this time. Let's continue on. Verse 8. For he said unto him, come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And he asked him, what is thy name? And he answered, my name is Slaki. And he answered, saying, my name is Legion, for we are many. Okay, so he answered Yahushua and gave him his name, Legion. It is a lot of spirits on this person, right? Now, this nowadays, you go out to any city streets or could be in your own house or whatever, you see people talking to themselves. They are talking to somebody. You just can't see them. Okay. And he says, you know, my name is Legion, for we are many. And it's a lot of spirits on this particular person. And there'll be a lot of spirits on people you see on the streets, or, you know, could be family members, right? So in actuality, just like it says, if you get one spirit away from you, you know what I mean? You you aim to stop this? There's something that's just holding you back. It's one sin. So the one spirit leaves, and then 7 more show up. So it's like a constant battle between getting spirits off of you. Some people have pretty much like they're infested. You know what I mean? One particular movie, Nefarious, it's a very good watch. You know what they say, art imitating life. It's the person that is pretty much infected with a lot of spirits. And, you know, I want to give it away, but he's talking to a doctor to see if he's sane or not. And the spirit, he knows a lot about this doctor. You know what I mean? I could go with my own um experiences, right? So I've been a counselor pretty much my entire life, you know, since I was about 14, had different other jobs, you know, worked at Target, worked at McDonald's, you know what I mean? But pretty much always came back to counseling. So at one particular job, you know, not getting into where and everything like that, but it was a young brother. He's probably about like 15, maybe 14. He definitely wasn't 16. So he was under 16. Did some pretty rough things, you know what I'm saying, to get where he was at. So if you would see him, you would say he's a bad kid. You know what I mean? You would say, oh, you know, he grew up rough and you know what I mean? Always out of trouble, in and out of trouble, whatever like that. So you would just see from the outside the things that he's done, you know, but I was able to sit back and talk to him and try to counsel him and see, you know, see where his head's at, right? So one time he's getting in trouble, he's acting out, and I'm talking to him. I bring him in the room, start talking to him, and I'm like, you know, what's going on with you? You know what I mean? What's up? Like, how can we alleviate this? You know what I'm saying? How can we, you know, calm you down a little bit? So what he said was, you know, look over there, right? Looked over there and there's a corner. He's like, you see that? You see that black shadow in that corner? And I'm like, nah, I don't see it. I'm like, do you see it? He's like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like it follows him. So he literally has a black mass following him around. Now, that's not something that he would tell anybody, you know, because he's a gangster, he's a tough guy, you know what I mean? You fight anybody, ain't nobody messing with him. But he opened up to me like, yo, man, I got a spirit follow me. For the most part, he didn't know what it was, you know what I mean? At the time I did try to explain it to him, you know what I mean, how you should be going. You know, I believe he was a practicing Muslim. You know what I mean? That thing ain't leaving him with you know with that religion. Okay. Another story. Now this guy was a little bit older. He's about 19, 18, 19. He was a killer. People knew him as a killer. He killed people and he just hasn't gotten caught for it. But they knew, you know, this is what he does. He was in there. He was actually in the location I'm speaking about, for you know, probably like a probation violation, whatever. But another one, always fighting. Everybody was scared of him. You know, he had a reputation of, you know, he'll shoot you in a heartbeat, right? So I'm talking to him, and you know, we after a while, this isn't like the first time we talk and he's like expressing this stuff. You know what I mean? You be around somebody enough, and you know, I'm showing him that I care. So then, you know, he opened up and he said, at night, the people that I killed visit me. And he said it just like that. You know what I mean? And he was very open, very honest. You know what I'm saying? He had no reason to lie, but it makes sense. He's not getting any sleep. The things that he's done and things that he continues to do, he's being trampled upon by spirits. You know, of course, you know, when you go to a psychiatrist, if ever, you know, to a carpenter, you know what I mean, or to a hammer, every problem, you know what I mean, or to a nail, every problem is a hammer. I know I messed it up, but you know, to a psychiatrist, they say, okay, we'll just give you this medicine, we'll give you that medicine. You know what I mean? We'll This will help you sleep. This will, this will help you get rid of the hallucinations, which they call it a hallucination. But you look at him, he's like, ain't no hallucination. I see the people that I've shot. They visit me at night. Do you know what I'm saying? When you look up, Slaki, let me go to look up the word witchcraft, right? In the accordance. Slaki, what am I looking for? I'm looking for actually the definitions. No, that's not it. Salakia. So, okay, yeah, here it is. Witchcraft in Galatians 5:20, idolatry, witchcraft. So you look up that in the concordance, it says medication, pharmacy, magic, sorcery, witchcraft. So in reality, these medications that they're giving people, Seroquel, Lexapro, different mood disorder or mood enhancing medication, is to kind of numb an area in your brain that is probably working fine. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. Not saying there's other underlining uh symptoms as far as, head injuries, substance abuse, so forth and so on. But the medication is gonna stop the voices. That's not saying the voices are gone. It's just you can't hear them anymore. Okay. And for anybody goes, people in HOI are saying mental illness isn't real. It's very real, but where does it come from? According to the scriptures, as we're reading, it's spirits. You know what I'm saying? And in my experiences, being a counselor for all these years, I see that. I'm even gonna talk about my own experiences. Okay. Let's continue to read on, and we'll come back. I'll come back to that. Verse 10, and he besought him much that he would not send him away out of the country. Now there was there nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding. Verse 12, and all the devils besought him, saying, send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. Very interesting, right? Why swine? It could have been anything. You know what I mean? But it ended up being swine, ended up being pigs, right? And you can actually see that with people that eat pork. It's like almost a religious experience to them. Like it's a religion. They got to eat their pork. I knew somebody I worked with every morning had to have her bacon. You know what I mean? At one point in time, she went to a not a deli, but like a mobile food truck, right? And she asked for her pork bacon. I said, no, we don't have pork. She said, I don't know why they didn't have pork. I walked 10 blocks to get her pork. She walked blocks, city blocks, just to get a bacon sandwich. Do you know what I'm saying? And she's very aggressive, you know what I'm saying? Very belligerent at times. So you can see how, the spirits are like, yo, send me into to that swine. All right. Let's keep going. Let's go down. Let's drop down to verse 15. And they came to Yahushai and see him that was possessed with the devil, and had the legion sitting and clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. So Yahushai took that spirit off him. It didn't take pills. You know what I mean? It's verse verse 16. And they that saw it told them how it befell to him that was possessed with the devil, and also concerning the swine. And they began to pray and they begin to pray him to depart out of their coast. They were scared. Yo, you gotta go. How do you do that? How do you get that guy out of here? In his right mind. We know him. We've been dealing with him for years. I don't know, years, but we've been dealing with him, in the mountains, and you try to tie him up and he breaks out. It's like somebody that's always back and forth to jail, like, oh man, this guy can't get right. And all of a sudden he's just sitting there all normal. You know what I'm saying? So now I could just say this, right? I'm going to show and improve, right? We read out the scriptures, the same people that we see that talking to themselves and scratching and itching, you know what I mean? Trying to get the demons out of their daggone skin, right? Have spirits on them. And it doesn't have to be that extensive. That's like Legion, that's just what's the word? Um I can't think of the word right now, but it's an infestation. Yeah, that's an infestation of spirits. But spirits can jump on anybody. Mental illness is something that is prevalent in our neighborhoods, you know what I'm saying? In our households. Depression is mental illness. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like a chemical imbalance. You're not getting the serotonin and the dopamine that you need to, I'm having a good day. It's just you just feel blue. You feel tired. You feel like I don't even want to go on. I just want to sit in my bed all day. I just want to go to sleep all day. You know what I mean? And I've dealt with that. You know what I'm saying? It's something that I'm very aware of. I can feel it coming on. So when you feel something like that coming on, what you want to do, you want to fast. You want to fast. And while you're fasting, don't be, talking on the phone, watching TV, on the computer, this, that, and third. You want to read the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? Because you got spirits on you that you got to get off. All right. Because they'll be whispering in your ear, to end it all. You know what I'm saying? So depression's one, being anxious all the time, that's another spirit. You know what I mean? So mental illness comes in many forms. Okay. And our coping mechanisms have to be better. You know what I mean? Eating is a coping mechanism with mental illness. All you're doing is just going to gain weight, get unhealthy, and feed the demons. You know what I'm saying? What you need to do is fast and pray. Fasting and praying. And I'm going to tell you a story about an encounter I had with a demon when we get back. Okay, but I'm going to put on this video and you're going to see what I mean when we talk about mental illness and spirits, because in this, you're going to actually see them. You know what I mean? This is what they call like scary videos or whatever like that. But if you have a spiritual eye, you're going to see what's going on. The person in the first video, he obviously has spirits on him. He's not paying attention. He's kind of out there, whatever. But you're going to see that around him are evil entities. Okay. And then we'll talk about the next video when that comes on. All right.
On a Thursday afternoon, a mother and daughter hurry over to their apartment as quickly as possible after encountering someone strange. They record the stranger on camera, but according to the mother, this wasn't the only strange thing recorded.
So I'm sitting here looking at this Marine camera footage, and I don't understand how I didn't see this, because this is ridiculous.
At the same time of this incident, this was captured. Watch closely.
Just call the police. Get out front of my door. The last time I'm gonna tell you, get out front of my door right now. Police on the way. Go.
Now, during this recording, Mom had no idea that this happened. The door to apartment 23 had swung open on its own and stayed open for more than a few seconds before closing. However, this isn't the reason why Jasmine, the mother, is freaked out by this. Just days after this happened, Jasmine records a video and points out something that makes this whole encounter even creepier.
In the 3 years that I've lived here, I had never seen this door come open. Ever. Like, in the video, you saw the door just came open. Who opened the door? Like, look at it. Pitch black. Like, make it make sense. Like, how? How? I don't know. It don't make sense.
If the door has remained locked for years, then just how exactly did it come open? She has no idea, but the further she looks into this, the more creeped out she becomes.
So Salakia, for everybody on Clubhouse, the guy's just walking back and forth in front of her door, like scratching, you know what I mean? Obviously, like not paying attention to his surroundings. And all of a sudden a door across from her apartment, she's living in an apartment building, the door swings open and then closes. The guy's not paying attention to anything, you know, he's out of it right now, you know, but she's saying, get away from my door, you know, I called the police and everything. All right, let's continue.
Watch this. The door comes open. There's nobody there.
Now, although this whole occurrence is pretty strange, it's what happens next that's by far the most unsettling. This is where things start to get pretty weird, because after reaching out to property management and getting someone to open up this door, this happens.
Okay, yeah, so property management sent somebody up to come take a look, so I'm gonna let him do what he do, and I'm gonna stay back here. You say the light works? Yeah, I say the light works. Oh, Lord. What is that? He's up. Y'all. What the hell is going on? Y'all see all these little kids? Y'all put kids' shoes up in there. What the? So so hold on, because no, this other day the door came open when I was in here. So if the door came open, like no, I'm sorry, I know.
So what she's seeing is about 50 pair of children's shoes in the middle of the floor, right? And also snake skin, like a snake that shed its skin in the corner. Let's continue.
Okay, y'all. So remember that thing? I thought it was a snake. I really thought it was some plastic, but y'all, I'm not gonna get close to this. This is real snake skin. Oh my God. Look at this. You can see like, ooh. Oh my God. Look at that.
Eerily, a large pile of children's shoes is found inside, and it's the fact that there are so many of them that freaks out Jasmine. According to her, this may suggest something much more frightening and serious than a paranormal occurrence. However, before calling the police, she notices something in her video that tells her this isn't what she thinks it is. But what she notices doesn't make this any less creepy. In fact, it makes it much more concerning. So looking back at this video that I took with the property manager guy, right? And I noticed something in a pile of shoes. Those frozen Elsa boots, whatever you want to call it, those boots are my daughter's. Like, I'm gonna show you a picture that me and my daughter took, like, I want to say like 2 months ago. Yo, this is crazy because I really thought she just lost them at school. Those shoes belong to my daughter. Watching this clip, the question is begged. Just how exactly did her daughter's shoes end up in this pile? Although Jasmine has no idea, she has a hunch as to what this could all mean. After showing property management the video and learning that no one has occupied the room in years, Jasmine makes a shocking conclusion. Somebody in this building must be going around here just collecting shoes. And I'm not gonna say collecting, stealing
little kids' shoes around here. I've talked to at least 2 or 3 different people in this building who have said that their children been missing shoes. So I'm thinking that somebody has access to their room and they're going around stealing shoes and then taking them and putting them in there. They're just putting shoes in the room, like it just none of this makes sense to me right now. None of it.
As Jasmine states, someone in this building has access to this room and is placing the shoes they steal inside. Now, even though property management has removed all the shoes and plans to change the door lock, they told Jasmine to be on the lookout. So she sets up a trap.
Okay, y'all finna get to the bottom of this. See these little shoes right here? Put them here as bait, right? On some real cheap shoes, just, little kids' shoes or whatever. But what I did was, I got me a plant, right? Little cheap plant too. But look what's inside the plant. Hopefully y'all can see it. Hopefully nobody else see it, but
According to Jasmine, whoever takes these kids' boots and enters the room must be the culprit and probably the same person who stole her Ring camera. But after 2 nights of recording this hallway, nothing happens. That is, until the 3rd night when this is captured. Take a look.
Her neighbor's door is opening. Her neighbor walks out. And is looking at that door. Begins to walk backwards. And one of the boots that she left out for bait just jumps by itself.
Somehow, one of the boots moves on its own. It appears to bounce off the ground before landing perpendicular to the other boot. Even Jasmine's next door neighbor was freaked out by this, but it's what her neighbor recounts that makes this whole encounter even more terrifying. Apparently, she had come out of her apartment after hearing what sounded like a baby crying outside her door. However, she realized that the cries were coming from inside the room where the shoes were found. Realizing this, she walks back in absolute fear, when suddenly this happens. Now, whether or not she actually heard a baby crying is hard to tell. There isn't any audio of a wailing baby in this footage, but even if she actually heard something, it wouldn't explain how the boot moved on its own. This is what spooks Jasmine the most, which is why she's thrown them away since then. Now, to this day, not much else is known about this story, and it doesn't help that no further clips have been posted since these. But as always, until further info becomes available, this incident will continue to remain a mystery.
So while she's looking at that snake skin, you see a white orb flying around it. Do you know what I mean? And how symbolic is it that there's a snake skin in this room that has all these children's shoes in? You know what I mean? And that just goes to show that you want to get far away from these type of entities. You know what I'm saying? How do you do that? By following the law, statutes, commandments, and teaching your children to do so. As you can see, all these children's shoes are the ones that are being taken and put in this room. You know what I mean? And from jump, you can see that the guy that was obviously going through a mental health crisis has you know, the evil entities were around him. Okay. Now we're gonna watch this next video, right? Is a woman, a homeless woman that these 2 Edomite girls are, I guess they're messing with her. I don't know if they knew that this was her cart. So they start playing with her cart. And then she comes in to reprimand them like, yo, that's my cart, don't touch it. what you're going to see is a black mass float around in their house, in their house, and then outside their house. And they're going to tell you that the girl says, I've seen it before. I thought it was a black cat. All right. And before we play that, let me just tell you, I'm going to tell you my story, right? Coming back from camp, feeling great, feeling amazing, you know what I'm saying? It was really edifying. So I'm on cloud 9 right now, right? So I hop off the train, boom. I started walking to the house, right? I'm on crutches right now, right? So I'm on crutches, and Saturday night, I see this woman. She was a homeless woman. She said, "Excuse me, sir, I want to get something to eat tonight." And I'm like, man, I'm feeling good. You know what I mean? Normally I'll go buy, if I have it, you know what I mean? I'll buy somebody from food or whatever. But I'm like, you know what? You get what you want to get. You know what I mean? I'm feeling great. Boom, I get $5, man. I'm broke, but still, you know what I'm saying? I get $5, right? So, well, not I'll say broke. That's, let me get my words together. Financially unavailable, right? So I give it $5, right? And as soon as I give it to her, I'm like, all right, bet. I give her $5, and I tell her she's an Israelite, just top off the night. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, according, what's your nationality? You know what I mean? And I think I don't know what she says, but I'm like, yeah, according to, the Bible, you'll be considered a Hebrew Israelite, right? She says, and everything just switched up. Like her face was smiling, whatever, just switched up. Like, I'm from the Legion of Satan. I'm from the 19th level of hell, and da da da. Literally, when I tell you, it was so fluid what she was saying. I stood there, I got chills. I'm like, this ain't no regular woman. You know what I mean? She's like, yeah, and uh, my leader and da da da. Like, I honestly, I don't even want to repeat what she says, if I could remember it, but just know it was so like intact and on point. I was amazed, but like frightened at the same time. I'm like, this ain't no regular woman. So even though I knew it wasn't a regular woman, I still was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Think about it. Like, why you want to live on the streets there? You worshiping Satan, you know what I'm saying? The Most High gonna send his son back and this, that, and the third. She's like, oh, I'll be fine by April or something like that. Like, she had it down packed. It wasn't a woman. I stand on that. And just like we believe and we know that angels are amongst us, you gotta understand demons are too, man. And this woman was not no regular demon. You know what I'm saying? Like a high-ranking demon that knew a lot. You know what I'm saying? I could tell. And as she's speaking, as it's speaking rather, I'm like, this thing's ancient. You know what I mean? This is out of my pay grade. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, I don't know how I ended the conversation. I'm like, I gotta get the hell out of here, man. So I crutched my way home so fast. You know what I'm saying? No, I ain't worried about the gangsters and the killers and the robbers and all that. This thing was like I said, it was ancient. You know what I'm saying? It was an ancient entity, right? So I got in the house. So I think I'm safe, right? I'm like, yo, I'm trying to I'm reflecting on what just happened. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. What in the world was that? And as I'm reflecting on that, I'm sitting in a chair, not this chair, but sitting in another chair, and I can see a black mass, which you're about to see. Clubhouse, you won't be able to see it, but um, if you see the video, you'll be able to see it. A black mass the size of a baseball or a basketball float from this wall to another wall in my house. And I, lit some incense, started praying. Yeah, how about Shemal Shai? Get this thing away from me. You know what I mean? That's a legit story. This happened probably like 3-4 years ago. Okay. So it's very real, very real. And that woman, anybody like, oh, hold on, let me help you out, Miss, lady, da da da. Oh, she might be, mentally, she's talking to herself, da da da. Yo, she was, and I don't think somebody that's just like possessed. It seemed to me like she was like a literal demon, you know what I mean, in human form. All right. But let me watch this next video, right? Or the same video, but the next type John, right? The next situation where they talk to this homeless woman and you can see the black mass. Same thing that I'm telling you about. I think mine was like it had a shape to it, like almost like a basketball. This one it's fast, it's moving, right? The other one that scene was like floating from one part of the room to the other.
At around 10 p.m., two sisters return home to pick up something that one of them needs. According to Pink Nemesis, who sent me this video, her little sister needed to pack some clothes for a sleepover that she was running late to. But just moments before coming inside, they noticed something rather unusual on the sidewalk across from their house. Apparently, they had found a shopping cart filled with creepy-looking dolls. Curious, they check out the cart for a quick minute before immediately rushing to the house to get what they came for. But during this footage, which was caught on their doorbell camera, they record something completely unexpected. This is what they caught.
So they go in the house and they leave their door open so you can see through the Ring camera their house, right? Person walks in their house.
I connect your approach next with mine.
Woman walks in their house and says that.
As it seems, the shopping cart they were checking out earlier belonged to this lady. For this reason, she walks in and yells at them for touching her stuff, some of which are pretty creepy. But there's something else in this footage that's just as unsettling, and it happens during the time she's inside. On the hallway floor, a black, shadow-like figure darts across. It's hard to make out what this is since it moves quickly, but whatever it might have been, it seems to have no distinct outline. It just seems to be a black mass of something. However, it appears not once, but twice on this property. On the second time it appears, it's seen running across the front yard. Now, Pink says that she has seen this figure before outside her home on multiple occasions at night. She initially thought it was just a black cat scurrying away. Given that she often leaves out food for stray cats, she was thinking this was just one of them. But seeing this footage, perhaps something else was captured. Now, she has yet to share this footage elsewhere, but until then, she has no explanation for what was caught. As with all videos, I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. Just what exactly was caught on camera?
All right, so that is legit. You know what I mean? You can see it with your own eyes, you know? And that does occur. So if you find yourself being angry all the time, frustrated, over sexualized, you know, any negative emotion and it hits you like a ton of bricks, that's a spirit. Okay. You could go, and I have no problem with counseling, you know what I mean, talking out the situations, because we all come from some type of trauma for the most part. You know what I mean? It could manifest and just have you, really frustrated and could start affecting your life. You know what I mean? But before you go to say like Esau's, I ain't gonna tell you what to do, but I'll tell you from my perspective. before I would go to Esau's doctors and get a whole bunch of medication, right? And even the medication that tells you, you know, it comes with these type of side effects. You know what I'm saying? And even if you wait long enough, the medication that they give you is going to say, oh, if your kidney fell out, you know, if you took this medication, call this number, you can get some money, you know, in a class action lawsuit. So it's not foolproof, you know what I mean? But before you do that, you know, consider fasting, consider reading the scriptures, consider really praying to the Most High for help. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and see how that helps, you know. But we live in a society now where it's always a quick fix, you know what I'm saying? It's like a McDonald's society, you know, where we just immediately run to get medication. And people that are on the medication, it ends up you know, when you stop taking it, you know, then you really are in a world of hurt. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times with Esau, when he goes to shoot up schools and churches and all this other stuff, he, like it says, a week ago he stopped taking his medication. You know what I'm saying? And things just get progressively worse. Okay, so it's not a foolproof plan to go to Esau's medication. You got to figure things out, man. You got to go to the Most High. You got to pray, you know, fast. You know what I'm saying? Stay away from sin as much as possible, because sin will you know, will feed these demons. You know what I'm saying? Drugs feeds demons. You're open. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just smoke weed, or I just, you know, do this or do that. Like, nah, if you do something that's altering your perception, it's leaving you open, you know. Drink excessive amount of alcohol. Like, I don't drink excessive amount, I just drink every day. That can be considered excessive. You know what I'm saying? Everyday drinking, you're open to that. That's why they call it wine and spirits. Okay. You know, I know that you know, oh, alcohol is not going against the law, but if you're in a crisis situation, you know what I mean, you might not see it, but everybody else sees it. You're in a crisis situation, that's not helping. Okay. And fasting is fasting, you know, no food, no drinks. So having a couple beers during your fast, that's not how it works. All right. So that's our top story. I want to bring that out with mental illness. Now, let's talk about chariots. Okay. We talked about the demons. Let's talk about the other side of this thing, okay, that Esau knows about. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 1. That Esau is very much aware of, and this scares him. If you look at what Donald Trump has done this week, flip-flopping, going back and forth, you're like, what is this, two people? Maybe. You know, it's been situations where people have been under hypnosis and in chariots, and the occupants of the chariot say, you're going to do what we're going to say, or we're going to bring this person in and we'll take your place. And this person looked exactly like them. You know, they said Esau's cloning people. Well, he learned from somebody. Okay, so let's watch this next video. This person has cosmic clearances. Okay, not top secret, cosmic clearances. All right, let's get that. Hebrews chapter 13 verse 1. Let brotherly love continue. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for whereby some have entertained angels unawares. So it's a point that I always try to hammer home, okay? You never know who you're talking to. So you should always be, you know, I don't want to say nice, be cordial. You know what I'm saying? Don't be a tyrant with everybody, because you never know who you're talking to. You know what I mean? And this guy understands that. This is Sergeant Major Robert O. Dean. Let's watch this next video.
Robert Dean has a list of credentials a mile long. He served 4 years from 1963 to 1967 at Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers, Europe, the military arm of NATO. He was an intelligence analyst with a cosmic top secret clearance.
Well, Don, it began for me in 1963 when I was assigned to the Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers in Europe. I arrived in the summer of '63 and I was assigned to the Operations Division. I was further assigned to what we call SHOC, the War Room, the Supreme Headquarters Operations Center. And at that time, I was given a cosmic top secret clearance, which was and still is the highest level of security access that NATO has. When I was assigned to the War Room, I learned that a study had been initiated in 1961, and everybody was talking about it. They were gossiping about it. The subject was UFOs, and that intrigued me a bit. When that study was concluded in 1964 and it was published, and I was still working in the War Room at that time, I had access to this document. I had a chance to read it. And having been exposed to it, I must tell you honestly that my life has never, ever quite been the same. Because I read firsthand reports, verifiable NATO military material that indicated that the UFOs were not only real, but they represented something far beyond anything I had ever imagined before. When the study was concluded in '64, they concluded that there were 4 different groups apparently coming and visiting us. Out of those 4 different groups, one group looked exactly like we do, so much so that they could sit beside you in a restaurant or in an airplane or in a theater, and you'd never know. And that particular point bothered the military guys a lot. The point being that some of these people from somewhere could be walking up and down the corridors of SHAPE headquarters, or they could be walking up and down the corridors of the Pentagon. One day at lunch, a lieutenant colonel made the remark, he says, Jesus, do you realize they could even be in the White House? And there was a little forced laughter at that point, I remember, because a lot of us over the years have had some misgivings about the occupants of the White House. But the point I'm making is that the idea that aliens could be here in our midst bothered the military, because if you're not paranoid when you go into the service, you're certainly trained very quickly to be so. It's the nature of the military mind, I think, to be paranoid. But that was only part of the story. The SHAPE conclusions in '64 were that there were 4 groups that we knew of. They were apparently interplanetary. Some very likely were interstellar. They even concluded that some of them could be intergalactic. When I retired in 1976, many of our military people knew at that point that we were not simply dealing with visitations from people from other planets or star systems. They had concluded by '76 that some of these visitors very well might be multidimensional in their source. The evidence that we had collected and the evidence that they had repeatedly demonstrated to us, and that's no accident. It became very clear after a time that there was a program or a process of some kind underway, that they had demonstrated over and over and over again that they apparently were able to manipulate matter and time. Now, this really shook up our scientists. There are a lot of new young scientists in particle physics today who talk about multiple dimensions. There's a brilliant young professor in New York by the name of Michio Kaku, who's written a brilliant book called Hyperspace, where they talk about 10 separate dimensions. I'm not enough of a physicist to try to explain to you what a dimension is, but the idea that there could be intelligences from somewhere else, from other dimensions coming and going into our reality. Been quite a shakeup in traditional science. I guess I speak out openly and bluntly about this because I feel so strongly about it. I violate my security oath every time I speak about it. I do it intentionally and I do it on purpose. because I feel so strongly that the American people not only have a right to know the truth, but they have a need to know the truth. The truth, Don, apparently is simply this, that we're not alone, we've never been alone. We are apparently part of an infinite universe filled with intelligent life. I find that exciting. It doesn't frighten me. The SHAPE study concluded in '64 that if they, whoever they were malevolent or hostile, that they could have taken this planet and cleaned it up and eliminated us, turned us into dog food or whatever, a long, long time ago. That the historical evidence indicates that they've been with us a long time. And I've concluded that we had what I like to call an intimate interrelationship with at least one of those groups, the group that looks exactly like we do. And that point is, I don't like the word alien. I don't think the term alien is appropriate at all here. I like to refer to them as family. We're related to them. I think they had a hand in our being here. And I think the time has come where we're about to meet our extended family. It's going to be very soon. And the people are not ready. And one of the reasons I do speak out so bluntly and so openly is if in some small way I can help people get prepared for this. Because I believe that this reality, once we have accepted it and understood it and gone beyond the fear, will bring about an expansion of consciousness in the human race that will truly help us and prepare us to go out there and take our rightful place in that infinite community of life.
Welcome back to the
All right. So, now that is Edomite mental illness that think you can destroy this planet, then go to other planets and destroy that. Like God will allow that to happen. But I mean, you know, that's what Esau thinks he can do. But the important part about that is that just like in Genesis 19, and we just read in Hebrews 13, you know, the angels look like us. So one thing that we can do to get the good angels around us and get the evil angels away from us is following these law, statutes, commandments to the best of our ability. You know what I mean? And it's definitely worth it because, you know, now when you pray, you know, your prayers will pierce the clouds. If you're just doing whatever you want to do when you pray, you know, it's gonna, you know, bounce right off. You're gonna say, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. You know, hopefully that the evil angels, as demons, will get away from you. That it doesn't work that way. You got to actually do something. You got to actually have works. You got to follow these law, statutes, commandments, so you're able to pray to the Most High to get the evil angels away from you and be encamped around the good angels, so you don't stub your toe against the rocks. Okay, but that's going to be a very difficult pill to swallow for Esau when he realizes that the person that they're talking to might not be the same person they were talking to yesterday. You know what I mean? In reality, the Most High could have had the angels take Donald Trump, put him on the chariot, take a fake version of him, have him walk around and say, we're going to bomb Iran. You know, in under normal circumstances, you might think that's ludicrous. Why would you think of doing something like that? But then take him back up, bring him back down. They're like, why would you do something like that? People, his administrator, he's like, what'd I do? You know what I mean? That's why him with a cosmic clearance is like, you know, that's something that's scary to us because we know that this occurs. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, something important that he said was they make themselves known that, you know, they can manipulate matter and time. They don't have to tell us anything. We didn't have to know this. You know what I mean? We could read it in the scriptures, but they make sure that, you know, those people with the high cosmic clearance and the people in the White House and the Pentagon know that they're not in charge. Okay. So that is chariot news. Let's go with plagues. We're gonna get some plagues. Moving right along down Florida, we got an ant that will kill you. Yes, an ant. Okay. Let's get Proverbs chapter 6, verse 5. And we gotta be like the ant, be wise. All right. Pay attention. The ant, you know what I mean? It was a little small guy, you step on him and and I didn't think anything about it, but the ant will fight back. Okay. So we can't be, naive thinking that, we're at a playground when it's really a battlefield. You know what I'm saying? Let's not think for 1 second that the same Edomites that were enslaving our ancestors, lynching us, castrating us, all of a sudden just packed up and went somewhere. You know what I mean? It's the same ones that now are in the White House. The same ones that all got pardons from Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? And for the ones that aren't aggressive like that, they'll just sit around and watch and have a picnic. You know what I'm saying? So let's not be naive, okay? Proverbs chapter 6, verse 5. Deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. Verse 6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Okay, so we're going to talk about the ant, okay? Let's check out what the ants are doing now. The ants ain't sitting around getting stepped on or used as a when you get the microphone glass, not the microphone, what's it called? The microscope burning the ants up, ants is fighting back.
Welcome back to the Stream Center. We are talking Asian needle ants in Florida. It's true. If you haven't heard of these, they have been spotted here. According to the U.S. Forestry Service, they've been found near Tallahassee and on the east coast of Florida. Here's the issue with these. Stings could result in a life-threatening allergic reaction called anaphylaxis. You might be familiar if you have a food allergy or if you're allergic to bees, that can be deadly. So if you are bitten by one of these and have a reaction, you're going to want to seek medical attention right away.
Just something about having the word needle in the name just is unpleasant for me. But here we have an expert, Dr. Debbie Castle with USF. She's like the ant lady. She is an animal behavior biologist with a specialty in social behavior of ants.
You love ants.
She loves ants.
I adore them. They're a microcosm of human behavior. And this Asian ant, new to me, but it's really interesting. It's only the workers that are out exploring their territory and looking for food and looking for enemies that have this sting. The queens and the males really don't. But I understand, like the fire ant, the sting is really painful. If you are allergic to bee stings and the fire ant sting, you will have an allergic reaction to this and you need to carry an EpiPen with you.
Wow. Debbie, I think it's so interesting, the part that they aren't in your lawn. That's good news, right? Because if you're out in your lawn, you're not going to run into these Asian needle ants. Where do they live?
So these ants are unusual in that they prefer forested areas with a lot of rotting wood. And we humans really like a grassy area, low cut, which is perfect habitat for the invasive fire ant that came into Florida, in the 1920s and 30s, and then has spread all over the world, even into China. So it's interesting that this ant has come from China and is invading the U.S. I mean, it seems like we're sharing invasive species. And of course, humans, we love our exotic flowers and plants, and that's how they're getting to us.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Sorry to cut you off there. Because you said they were the short, wicked ant from China. So tell us how they got here. You said they were in their flowers?
They're in the soil that we bring from other countries, usually plants. We humans love something new, flowery and exotic. And so we import from other countries, and these ants live underground, under rocks and wood. And as we're bringing in those elements for our landscaping, that's how they've arrived to our country.
Okay, that stinks. But I do have a question for you. How did you become so fascinated with ants? You have a PhD in ants behavior.
All right, yeah, okay. Nobody cares, Esau. Anyway, so them ants ain't no joke, man. All right, let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 11. That man will get you, you know what I mean? Oh, you can do whatever you want to these ants. You do whatever you want to these Negroes, right? That's what remember in Maccabees, during the Sabbath, they attacked during the Sabbath. And what happened? We all got destroyed, you know? We gotta be aware, you know? Let's not sit there and be plucked off one at a time. Okay? Let's get to talk about the ants and another plague you can add on to the list of the many plagues in Babylon. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 11. And I will bring them with a mighty hand and stretched out arm. Slakia, let's start at verse 11. Slakia. I will bring them with a mighty hand and stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Verse 12. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahweh shall bring upon it. Add that to the list. You got ants that'll kill you. Moving on. All right, let's talk about the wars. We went pretty deep into the wars on on the Sabbath, in the mandatory Sabbath class. Esau unfortunately took down the post. Apparently went a little too hard on Amalek. got a little upset, but it just shows you that things are working. They're working as they should be. You know what I'm saying? To the point where Esau is
Salakia.
Khan.
Esau took down that post.
Khan. Yeah. I couldn't even appeal it. As soon as I went to appeal, they said, "Oops, you're not supposed to be here."
On the Sabbath.
Khan.
Okay. That shows you during the Trump era because Esau definitely don't want anybody talking about Amalek during the Trump era. But that scripture that you just pulled out in 2nd Esdras was interesting about that. Is the Mosai says he should smite Egypt as before. So the Mosai tells you he repeats things. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people will say, well, Babylon happened already and Babylon fell. But the Mosai says he's going to do Babylon the same way, the second Babylon. That scripture shows you that the Mosai repeats things over and over again. Like he destroys one kingdom, but he's going to do another kingdom the same way. Like he destroyed Egypt, but he's going to do this Egypt, America, the same way. That's a deep scripture right there in 2nd Esdras.
Khan. Yes. Yeah, all praise to the Most High. Destroy this place 2 times, But unfortunately they took down that post. There was a lot of good information on it, but I'm glad it was mandatory because everybody that should have been on there was on there, and that's just the way it is, man. They haven't been taking down a lot of my videos because I do say Fair Use Act and I put it in the description, Fair Use Act, and you know what I mean? But it was a CEO of YouTube that died not too long ago, maybe a couple years back. And that was obviously the one that was in charge that was taking down this body in HOI's platforms before even videos were put up. So I would think that they got the message, like, the Most High will take you out of here if you messing with his word. But apparently whoever the new CEO is didn't get the memo, and I guess the Most High gonna have to show him, and most likely he will. So we'll wait for that, and then when it does happen, we'll be right here on HOI News bringing it out live and direct.
That's like Pharaoh, the Egyptian that knew not Joseph. You know what I mean? The Pharaoh that knew not Joseph. It's the same thing. They create somebody else now, and they don't know, but they're gonna find out, like you said.
God, all praises. All right. So the next international news, we're gonna talk about the wars. We haven't talked about Ukraine and Russia in a while. Russia is bodying Ukraine, and it's not just Ukraine. As you know, Ukraine is NATO at this point in time. They're not part of NATO, but all the NATO countries got people in there, special forces and all the equipment and everything. But Russia is continuing to body them. We're not going to watch the whole thing. I don't want you to get bored, and you know what I mean? Because the guy talks about all these different towns and cities in Ukraine that, you know, if you've never been to Ukraine, you probably won't know about. You know what I'm saying? I've never been to Ukraine, so I don't know about it either. But talks about the Donetsk region and how they're encircling the front line of the Ukrainians. And they're pretty much giving them a lot of work. So we'll just list about 5 minutes of this, just so we're on the same page of this war is still hot war, and it's still continuing to go on. All right. And then we'll get into what's going on a little bit with the so-called Middle East and how embarrassing the United States should feel right now, because they said they destroyed their nuclear program. They did not. Okay. And we're going to talk about that. Let's get Matthew chapter 24 and 6. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So these major wars that are happening right now, all prophesied to happen. Like I said, only gonna listen to about 5 minutes of this, so don't you be like, man, what's this guy talking about? He's obviously very well versed in trench warfare and the Ukrainian side of things, but we're not gonna listen to the whole thing. All right.
Ukraine's not a nation at war, but now it's beginning to feel like it because Russia has taken the gloves off. Russia has said that, we'll avoid targets that the potential civilian. Ukraine takes advantage of that by transitioning much of the defense industry into heavily urbanized areas. Russia hasn't been striking these. Russia now is striking these with very precise. They're taking them out. Look at Kiev this morning, a city on flames. Not a single Russian drone or missile hit a civilian target. There's casualties who get hit by Ukrainian air defense systems, or if a drone gets shot down. And Russia has to send a signal to the West that what happened in terms of both the terrorist attack or the drone attacks against the aircraft can never happen again. And you do that by creating the reality of disproportionate response. And they started to pick out the British-centric targets inside Ukraine.
While headlines fixate on ceasefires in the Middle East, a different war rages on, louder, bloodier, and dangerously underreported. The 25th of June 2025 may go down, not as the day peace returned to Ukraine, but the day its front lines collapsed in silence. From Pokrovsk to Kharkov, Russian forces are no longer just probing, they're encircling, cutting, trapping. Ukraine's Western partners claim strategic patience, but on the ground, 122 battles rage in a single day. The retreat routes near Pokrovsk gone. The defensive lines in Konstantinovka smashed, and every drone launched from Kyiv meets Russian fire before it can sting. Yet Western media remains fixated on sanctions and symbolism, while troops die in fields that were once fallback zones. This isn't just a shift on the battlefield, it's the unraveling of NATO's proxy strategy, thread by thread. And as Scott Ritter once warned, the US can light matches, but it rarely knows what burns after. So what really happened this week? And is Ukraine still in control or just pretending to be? Stay with us to the end and share your thoughts below. We want to hear them. The most intense front line is no longer near the capital. It is Pokrovsk, a strategic urban cluster in the Donetsk region, where Russian forces have now implemented what military analysts are calling a textbook encirclement. On the 25th of June, units of the Russian armed forces advanced, methodically compressing Ukrainian positions near Novokonomichny into a pocket that has no escape route left toward Mirnograd. According to the military analysis channel Suryak Maps and Russian outlet, Ryavka Vanguard Russian assault teams stormed into Novoteretsky and secured complete control over the village of Novoserivka. Their next move came fast, progressing from Koptevo along the corridor formed by Vladimirovka and Shahovo. They effectively boxed in the armed forces of Ukraine between the Kazini Torets River to the north and a network of open plains to the east. Why is this encirclement so significant? Because just behind Novokonomichne lies the sprawling Kapitalnaya mine, an industrial labyrinth filled with hardened concrete buildings, underground storage facilities, and a complex of shelters that could serve as a natural fortress. If Ukraine had managed to retreat to these positions, they would have had access to an almost prefabricated line of defense, possibly slowing Russia's advance in the sector. But Moscow understood that advantage perfectly. That's why Russian forces moved swiftly to the north, crossing Kazini Torets and launching firefights on the village's outskirts while securing flanks to the south near a long-abandoned resort at the edge of the Senyanskoye Reservoir. Reports say Russian surveillance drones guided artillery fire directly onto potential Ukrainian escape routes, blanketing the exposed fields between Novokonomichny and Mirnograd with indirect fire. That terrain is now a death zone. For the Ukrainian defenders trapped in the pocket, the decision to flee is no longer even a real option. Reinforcements, unlikely. To shift additional manpower into Pokrovsk, Ukraine would need to pull brigades from elsewhere, weakening fronts like Guliai, Polyi, or Kupiansk, where Moscow is also advancing. And so the pocket tightens, a maneuver war becomes a siege. The only question left is not whether Pokrovsk can hold, but whether the Ukrainian command will let their soldiers stay and fight to the end or abandon them as they've done elsewhere.
Okay, so it reminds me of Joshua, you know what I mean? When going to war against Ammon and, you know, kind of like backtracked a little bit. They came out, had some of the forces on the other side. As soon as they came in, realizing that they started burning their tents and everything like that, they surrounded, and then they got murked, you know. Same thing with the Maccabees. So that war, strategic war planning is going on, and Russia's just really like taking them down to the wire. Okay, so now with that, let's check out what's going on in the Middle East and what's the latest in Iran and Israel.
And they are
Slovakia.
well, what they did is carry out an illegal war of aggression. It's a war crime. It's not just a war crime. Judge Jackson, from the Nuremberg trial period, lead prosecutor of the Nazi war criminals, asserted that a war of aggression is the ultimate war crime because from this war of aggression, all other crimes emanate. This is what we did. I don't know why Americans are proud of this. This is an act of perfidy, a surprise attack, an undeclared act of aggression that had no foundation and justification. Again, to justify something like this, which is the equivalent of what we would say a preemptive, a preemptive act of self-defense. So there needs to be an imminent threat that can only be dealt with through this act of aggression. Iran was in the process of negotiations that would resolve all of the issues that could be perceived as a threat. So there is no imminent threat. Moreover, we know that the sites that had been targeted, 3 nuclear sites, Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordow, were empty. That these strikes would have zero impact on an Iranian nuclear program that had long since been evacuated from these sites and sent to other locations. It's come out that this strike plan, which was done in cooperation with Israel, was something that had been planned more than a year ago and actually been practiced by the United States and Israel. So this was a pre-planned strike against 3 designated sites that had no military value. So this is purely an act of theater, and any military commander that put American lives at risk to carry out an act of political theater should, literally have their commissions revoked and be drummed out of the service. There was no justification for this, but moreover, the attacks didn't even accomplish what they claimed to have accomplished. We had 1 B-2 bomber drop 2 GBU-57s on the Natanz facility.
Right. What is that? What is the GBU-57? Is that one of these 32,000-pound monsters?
Correct. They're the massive ordnance penetrator
Right.
weapon that only the B-2 can carry, and it's upon the shoulders of this weapon that the United States has based its hopes of interdicting Iran's nuclear program. But Natanz had been struck at least twice and probably three times by the Israelis prior to this attack. And whatever was in Natanz, that centrifuges, etc., of value had long since been evacuated. People should understand that Natanz is the principal home of centrifuge cascades of the oldest type, the IR-1 centrifuge, which is a very inefficient centrifuge that Iran had long since replaced with these more modern centrifuges that are in Fordo. So to strike Natanz doesn't put back the Iranian program at all. And anything of value in that program had been evacuated. So we put a B-2 bomber over a target to drop two very large bombs that accomplished nothing. They literally put two additional holes in the ground of a piece of terrain that had no military, scientific, or meaningful value. It was purely a political act. The same with Isfahan. We fired 30 cruise missiles into the Isfahan nuclear complex. It appears that even the U.S. government is admitting that these missiles didn't accomplish the level of destruction that they were hoping to, that the Isfahan facility was deeper underground and more protected. So in normal circumstances, and this dates back to my time as a battle damage assessment officer during the first Gulf War, this would be immediate reattack, which means that because we initiated this, if there was legitimate military purpose to this attack, we would have to reattack to achieve those objectives. It appears, though, that Donald Trump says, no, we're done. We're willing to be done with this, which means, again, this wasn't about achieving anything meaningfully, militarily meaningful on the ground. This was an act of pure politics. And then we get to Fordo, the crown jewel of the three targets, a facility that's 90 meters or 90 feet underground, 100 feet underground. But that's, street level measuring. What they're not counting are the ridges above the facility that make it even 3 or 4 times deeper than this. We struck with 6 B-2 bombers, each of which carried 2 of these massive ordnance penetrators. And the best that we could accomplish is that we did damage to 1 entrance and 1 exit of a facility that has 5 exits. We didn't do damage to the hall. We didn't penetrate. But even more critical is that we know the facility was evacuated. There is satellite imagery that shows on June 18th and 19th, the Iranians had brought up trucks to remove the high-value centrifuges that were stored at Fordo. And these centrifuges have been moved to other facilities around Iran that we don't know about, together with the totality of Iran's enriched uranium. That 60% uranium that everybody says can be converted into a bomb in 3 to 5 days. Yeah. We didn't destroy that. That's all moved. So these attacks accomplished nothing in terms of retarding or limiting Iran's nuclear enrichment program. These attacks were purely an act of political theater for a president who's desperate to be seen as being a decisive leader, but all he showed was American impotence.
The Secretary of State referred to the planning of the operation as brilliant. Now, the plan must have begun in the Biden administration. Could something like this have been planned since Donald Trump became president and Pete Hegseth became Secretary of Defense?
Well, I mean, in theory, it could, but the fact is this attack has been rehearsed by the United States and Israel during the Biden administration, indeed in the summer of 2023, and I believe again in 2024.
So if everybody wants to say, it's the Republicans, it's the Republicans, it's the Democrats, it's all of them. You know what I mean? So they've been playing this for a long time. Like we saw on Saturday, the Sabbath class, General Wesley Clark in 2001 saw a memo about, taking out Iran. So this is nothing new. You know what I mean? And Elder Terrell bring out books that they've been talking about this for longer than that. You know what I mean? So it's not just Democrat, Republican, it's all of them. It's not just Biden and Trump, it's all of them. But they did nothing with that strike on Iran nuclear facility. And actually a top secret memo was released saying that, from the United States' own mouth that nothing happened. Like, you know what I mean? You bombed a mountain. You cannot get deep penetrating bombs in a mountain. You know what I mean? Esau thinks he could bomb his way out of everything. But then Pete Hegseth came out and said, no, it's not true. We really bombed them. It was great. Everything that all their whole nuclear program's demolished. And then Tulsi Gabbard said the same thing. She's trying to stay relevant. She came out and we're going to see that with the next video. Came out and said that these elites are trying to bomb us back in the nuclear war because they have uh, bunkers and all this other stuff, right? But now Trump is saying that we are no longer going to give briefings, and we're not going to tell Congress anything that we're doing. You know what I'm saying? But they said that it was they released top secret information. So either they released top secret information or it was a lie. You know what I'm saying? But as they're reacting to the release of the top secret information that nothing happened as a result of these B-52 bombers, then obviously, it's the truth. Okay. So right now, this alleged ceasefire, it's really just a way for Israel to get their missile defense systems back working and things of that nature. It's not over with. You know what I mean? Even the IDF spokesman came out today and said it's not over with. So, you know what I mean? They say peace and safety, and then sudden destruction is en route. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 5 and verse 54. Apparently, there is a 22-year-old, just got out of college, boy. I ain't gonna say boy. If you're 22, you ain't no boy, but he's a boy because Esau. He is now running the counterterrorism unit in the United States. So it's really bad. You know what I'm saying? It's looking. You might as well get anybody, man. Just get somebody off the street to do it, man. You know what I'm saying? But Rachel Maddow just rips into him, and it's funny. You'll enjoy it. So 2nd Ezra chapter 5 and verse 50, let's say 54. Consider thou also, consider thou therefore also how that ye are less of stature than those that were before you. Verse 55. And so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which now begin to be old and have passed over the strength of youth. So it's just getting worse and worse. You go with was it Eisenhower? You know what I mean? He's a general. He's in there, he's probably storming the beaches. I don't know. You know what I mean? Eisenhower was in the mix. Now you got Captain Bone Spurts. You know what I mean? He tripped up the steps, going on Air Force One not too long ago. And then Marco Rubio tripped up the same steps. Like, you would think they need to get like some escalators or elevators for these geezers that are running the country. But, same with Joe Biden, he was off the wall. He fell every time he came out the house. You know what I'm saying? It's just getting worse and worse. It's getting weaker and weaker, sadder and sadder. You know what I mean? To the point now where some 22-year-old punk is running the counterterrorism unit. And all these terrorist things are happening. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's happening to Amalek, but it's happening nevertheless. I'm not saying, don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? But it's just sad. You know what I mean? It's sad looking at this once quote unquote great country, supposed to make America great again. It's looking terrible.
Hey, Kasaja.
Embarrassing. Khan.
Salakia, man. As they would say, this brother, man, he went into the spirit world back at One West. But he's the only brother I saw gave me this breakdown. And this breakdown makes sense. It comes to pass now, right? It's 2nd Ezra 15 and 30. It says, also the carnage rage and wrath, so shall go forth the wild boar of the wood. With great power shall they come and join battle with them, and they shall waste a portion of the land of the Syrians. And then shall the dragon have the upper hand, remembering their nature. Like, everybody gonna remember their nature. So Ishmael is a wild man, right? And if they shall turn themselves conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Now, this brother gave me this breakdown. This makes sense. He said, then these shall be in trouble, America and these nations, and keep silence through their power and shall flee. Now, he said the power represent the media and how they're able to keep it silent of really what's going on. So you see, that's very important in war, to keep things silent, right? So that Americans think that they're safe. But through their media, their power, they really keeping silent of really what's going on. They're making it seem like Trump is now stopped. They did so much disaster. Iran wants to surrender. Iran wants to have a meeting. And when I watched the video yesterday of the Iran, what do they call them? Ayatollah.
Okay.
And he wasn't talking about no surrender. He was talking about the arrogancy of America and what America doing. The people was behind them. Now I'm gonna tell you, that Netanyahu foolish dude is just is like he's crazy. Just want to destroy the Arabs. He's foolish enough because he said that it's not off table assassinating him. If they assassinate that dude, right? Even Trump was like, "Yo, don't really do that." But he's really just just crazy, want to destroy them. If they assassinate that guy, man, this place is gonna go crazy. It's gonna be serious war with them Arabs because that's off limits. Because spiritual leaders supposed to be off limits. They assassinated 11 of their top generals. It's been there, I think, since the 70s or something. But if they assassinate that guy, it is over. It's gonna go ballistic, man.
Con. That's interesting. You know what I mean? That keeps silence because they definitely are like not, broadcasting. Oh, it was a great strike and everything like that. It came the exact opposite, not from American news, but Russia and Iran. They're like, nah, it's a, it's, it's a mountain. You didn't do nothing to us. You know what I mean? And that's interesting. Yeah, they're trying to get the Alatoa out of there. And Netanyahu, I saw Trump says something. A post on Truth Social saying, pretty much saying, Netanyahu's a great guy and these guys should drop all the charges because he's pretty much a fraud. He's been stealing. I believe they had like a oil revenue type situation over there. Like he's been funneling money and he got caught. So he's really trying to start all these wars with Hamas and Hezbollah and keep it going because the minute he's done with war, he's going to jail. You know what I mean? So Trump came out saying, we should not, persecute this man. He's a good man, this, that, and the third. So it's kind of like, the Most High got a battery in his back pushing him like, yo, if you don't want to go to jail, you got to keep on going with these wars. So he has really no choice in his mind. It's either I continue to continue with these wars or I go to prison for the rest of my life. And he's already like 70, 80 years old, so it's looking good, looking good. The World War III is kicking off. And now with that, the first initial wave between Iran and Israel, they got Russia on their side. They have China bringing in weaponry. So if and when they do, not if, but when they do try to aim to attack Iran again, you're gonna have bigger issues, So, God, the water for that breakdown. And here's what we got to look forward to in America. 22-year-old just got out of college. Apparently, he's gonna stop terrorism. Check this out.
We, the American people, have a couple of situations at hand, right? First of all, we've got this person as Director of National Intelligence, and everything that means. Less than 2 weeks ago, for instance, it meant that our Director of National Intelligence posted a bizarre video online in which she said that the, quote, political elite and warmongers are actively right now trying to bring about nuclear war on Earth. Quote, Perhaps it's because, this is what she said, perhaps it's because they are confident that they will have access to nuclear shelters for themselves and for their families that regular people won't have access to. What do you mean? I mean, to be clear, this is not the YouTube comment section I'm reading on an InfoWars post. This is the Director of National Intelligence for the United States government in what appears to be some sort of official straight-to-camera video proclamation, basically telling the American people that there are secret, impenetrable nuclear shelters just for the elite, just for the warmongers. And because of that, they are, well, the warmongers and their families. And so the warmongers and the elite are planning a nuclear war. They are planning to deliberately destroy the earth with nuclear war so they can rule the rubble from their secret, impenetrable underground cities. Or something. That is the Director of National Intelligence for a country. For our country. Which is a country that just bombed Iran. After President Donald Trump said he didn't care what U.S. intelligence said about Iran, he knew somehow from mysterious other sources, he knew that Iran was on the brink of a nuclear weapon and therefore we had to bomb them. Now tonight he says there will be a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Iran's foreign minister just moments ago said on social media that there is no ceasefire agreement. But that if Israel stops attacking Iran, Iran will stop responding. Quote, the final decision on the cessation of our military operations will be made later. So we don't exactly know what that means. We will see. But here in the United States, this follows a new national terrorism advisory alert from our government's Department of Homeland Security, which advises that Trump's decision to bomb Iran, quote, could contribute to U.S.-based individuals plotting violent attacks here in the United States. So again, if you're the U.S. government, think about what you're going to do to respond to circumstances like this, right? How do you prepare us as a country? How might you harden our defenses or try to avert any such attack, which our government, again, is now warning about? Well, again, it depends on who is running the U.S. government. And in the case of President Donald Trump, the way he has been preparing the government for this eventuality is by forcing out the head of the National Security Branch at the FBI. Don't worry, though, there's also a National Security Division at the Department of Justice. Well, Trump demoted the acting head of the National Security Division at the Department of Justice, apparently because that acting chief didn't move quickly enough after the inauguration to take down the picture of President Biden and put up the picture of President Trump. And so he was demoted out of that job. That said, the FBI also has its own specific counterterrorism division. He appears to have been pushed out. He left the FBI last month. But don't worry, there is at least one senior counterterrorism position in the United States government that has been definitively and deliberately filled by this president. It's at the Department of Homeland Security. Department of Homeland Security's domestic counterterrorism hub leads nationwide efforts to prevent targeted acts of violence of all kinds. President Donald Trump, in his infinite wisdom, has put this man in charge of that at Homeland Security. Feast your eyes. He's 22 years old, 1 year out of college with no evident national security experience whatsoever. Before volunteering for the Trump campaign, his LinkedIn page reportedly explains that his work experience includes, quote, lawn care work around my neighborhood. Also, working part-time as a clerk at an H-E-B supermarket. He also apparently once had an internship at the Heritage Foundation, an internship. And according to a recent ProPublica profile of this young man, again, who is Donald Trump's best guess at who would make a good counterterrorism chief for the United States government at this moment in time, according to ProPublica, quote, the bulk of his leadership experience comes from having served as Secretary General of a model United Nations club in school. But now that is who Donald Trump has running domestic counterterrorism efforts for the U.S. government. For the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, I feel duty-bound to inform you that the left eyebrow is itself registered as a lethal weapon. So underestimate him at your peril, ladies. In April, there was an arson attack targeting Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and his family at the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. 4 days later, a self-proclaimed white supremacist shot up the campus of Florida State University, wounding 6 people and killing 2. ProPublica notes that he used a picture of Hitler as the profile picture for his online accounts. In May, there was a car bombing of a fertility clinic in California. Somebody who ascribes to some sort of anti-natalist, bizarre extremist ideology. In late May, 2 employees of the Israeli embassy were murdered in Washington, D.C. In June, an event in support of Israeli hostages in Gaza was the target of a bizarre firebombing attack in Colorado in which 12 people were injured. Last weekend, 1 Minnesota Democratic leader and her husband were assassinated. Another Minnesota Democratic legislator was shot 9 times and has thus far survived. His wife was shot 8 times. She has just miraculously been released from the hospital. So it's not like domestic counterterrorism is a niche concern in America right now. Even before the new and explicit warning about potential revenge inside this country for Trump's decision to bomb Iran. But from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, where the director is off the Quiet Skies Air Marshal list herself now, and Trump has thrown out that whole program for the whole country because who cares about that stuff, where they are now unleashed at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence so the office can be on full alert for the lizard people to move their power centers into the secret underground cities, right? From the DNI to the decimation of the Justice Department, and particularly the FBI, which is now led at the director and deputy director level by 2 right-wing podcasters, to the Department of Homeland Security, where a lawn boy and model UN kid has been appointed to lead counterterrorism in every element of its responsibility to keep the American people safe. The U.S. government under Donald Trump is, I guess, doing the best they're capable of.
Yeah, that's where we're at. You know what I'm saying? It's all downhill. You know what I'm saying? Who else are gonna get? Center of the world. Can't get people that actually gonna do a good job. This is how the Most High lined it up. Okay, so that is our Trump Talk segment. You know, not looking good as far as the administration goes, but it's not looking good anywhere as far as administration goes. Now, let's get to our segment called Esau Fall. Esau Fall. Esau is falling down and they're not getting up. Let's start with Acts chapter 27 and verse 41. We got actually two segments on Esau Fall. I mean, they're falling apart. So how are we going to not talk about them? You know, I don't think we ever really talked about the assassination of the Minnesota politicians. You know what I'm saying? It's just so much stuff going on. But maybe we'll talk about that next week, depending on what happens from in 1 week or 7 days. Okay, so Acts chapter 27 and verse 41. And falling into place where 2 seas met, they ran the ship aground, and the forepart struck fast and remained unmovable, but the hinder part was broken with the violence of the waves. All right. With that, let's go to Wisdom of Solomon. It is a lot of tragedies occurring. And there were this next video, I think they were celebrating their a birthday. Didn't go well. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5 and verse 22. And hailstones full of wrath shall be cast as out of the stone bow, and the water of the sea shall rage against them. and the floods shall cruelly drown them. Verse 23, yea, a mighty wind shall stand up against them, and like a storm shall blow them away. Thus iniquity shall lay waste the whole earth, and ill dealings shall overthrow the thrones of the mighty. All right, let's see what we got.
Learning now about the 8 people who were killed in their boat after it capsized on Lake Tahoe during choppy, dangerous waves Saturday. We know that 2 people were rescued. All 10 on board that boat were there to celebrate a birthday that day. Among the victims, 4 are family members from Northern California and the Bay Area. One of them, an executive with DoorDash. Thanks for being with us tonight at 6. I'm Gulston Dark.
And I'm Edie Lambert. Let's start with the names released today. Paula Bozinovich from Redwood City, Terry Pickles, also from Redwood City, Joshua Pickles from San Francisco, Peter Bays from Lincoln, and Timothy O'Leary from Auburn. The other 3 victims are from New York State. Teresa Giulari and James Guck are from Honeoye, and Stephen Lindsay is from Springwater. The victims range in age from 37 to 73. KCRA 3's Ryan Curry learned more about what happened to that family over the weekend.
A moment the family can only describe with one word: tragic.
They're in a state of shock and mourning and grief.
Among the 8 victims who died in Lake Tahoe over the weekend, 4 are members of the same family. They were on the water celebrating Paula Bozinovich's 71st birthday when severe weather swept through the lake, causing high winds and big waves. Sam Singer is the spokesperson for the family. Among those who passed away were Terry and Joshua Pickles, Paula's husband and son. Joshua's wife, Jordan, is sharing this photo of the 2 of them.
The swells were 8-10 feet. The boat took water on, stalled the engine. The water that was being taken on caused the boat to capsize, and the occupants were thrown into Lake Tahoe.
The Pickles family is from the Bay Area. Joshua was working as a DoorDash executive in their finance department. He and his wife married 2 years ago and have a 7-month-old daughter. Joshua was on the boat while the other 2 stayed on shore.
Life was really wonderful and exciting, and now it's a trial and a tragedy.
The heck is that in the background? You see that picture? What in the world is that? Is that Jake, like, walking around? Is that a gun? That looks like Jake half a body. I'm just noticing this. Looks like a devil in the background. I don't know what they were into, but I think the Most High has some pretty good aim. You know what I mean? Let's continue.
And they're just in grieving.
More than a dozen agencies worked for several days trying to find the 8 victims. They located the last one on Monday, and Singer says the family is grateful for their help while they now focus on grieving their loved ones.
They can't express their thanks enough for those people putting their lives on the line to save 2 members of the party and to rescue the bodies of the 8 who perished.
In San Francisco, Ryan Curry, KCRA 3 News.
DoorDash has told KCRA 3 that Pickles was an inspiration to everyone who had the privilege of knowing him, and they said they will work to support his family during this difficult time.
And we're also learning some more details about some of those people who were killed in that tragic boating accident. 71-year-old Timothy O'Leary was a friend from Auburn. 3 other people are from upstate New York. 63-year-old Stephen Lindsay was killed in the boating accident. A longtime friend of his says everyone called him Zippy. And he says he was just a good guy and never had any enemies. He'd been traveling with a couple who also lost their lives. 69-year-old James Guck, and people called him Jim or Jimmy, along with 66-year-old Teresa Giulari, a member of the Honeoye Town Council in upstate New York, says that Teresa constantly volunteered in their community. The El Dorado County Sheriff's Office is working right now with the Coast Guard to try to determine how this happened.
I'll tell you how it happened. God is not mocked. I would think Zippy and Tommy Pickles, they might have to check their blood alcohol level, you know, see if any drugs were in the system. You know what I'm saying? They put a lot of first responders at risk, you know, by having to look for them. But you know, I want all the information. You know, I mean, give me it all. You know, let's see. Let's go to background checks. You know, where they're involved in some nefarious things. He worked for DoorDash, finance department. You know what I mean? Just saying. Just saying. All right, let's go to Genesis chapter 7 and verse 13. And I didn't watching this for everybody on Clubhouse. The background of the guy that was being interviewed, it looked like black slaves. You know what I mean? One of the guys had his torso cut off. It was a gun in the picture. And then in the middle of everything, it looked like the devil. So I don't know how more demonic you can get, but I'm thinking God knew exactly what he was doing when he flipped that boat. Let's go to Genesis chapter 7 verse 13. And the same self day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. It's 8 people, right? Let's go to First Peter. First Peter chapter 3. Just want to get some, little clarification, if you will. First Peter chapter 3 and verse, we'll start at 18. For Christ also have once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to Yahweh, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit. Verse 19, by which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison. Verse 20, which sometimes were disobedient, when once the long suffering of Yahweh waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was preparing, wherein few, that is, 8 souls, were saved by water. So 8 souls were saved back then, and 8 souls perished now. It's a changing in the guard, Israel. It's a changing in the guard. Now, let's continue on with Esau fall, lightning strikes. Okay, let's go to Psalm chapter 144. So boats are being flipped and people are getting struck by lightning. Man, this is a good time to praise Yahweh Shem Yahushai. I don't know what it feels like to get struck by lightning. Don't want to know either. This is the book Psalm chapter 144, verse 1. Blessed be the Lord, my strength, which teaches my hands to war and my fingers to fight. Found this out on the new moon. You know what I mean? I think it happened hours prior to the start of the new moon, but what news? We're talking about what the Most High does as far as, judgments on our feast days, high holy days. Verse 2, my goodness and my fortress, my high tower and my deliverer, my shield, and he in whom I trust, who subdued my people under me. Lord, what is man that thou takest knowledge of him, or the son of man that thou makest account of him? Man is like to vanity. His days are as a shadow that passeth away. Bow thy heavens, O Lord, and come down. Touch the mountains, and they shall smoke. Cast forth lightnings and scatter them. Shoot out thine arrows and destroy them. Verse 7, send thy hand from above, rid me, and deliver me out of the great waters, from the hand of the strange children. Let's check this first video. It's actually 2 videos. I didn't know which one to pick, so I said, why not do both?
A lightning strike on Lake Murray, sending several people to the hospital late today. It's all happening at the public beach access area right beside the Lake Murray Dam. 2 people were treated at the scene, but 18 people were taken to local hospitals. We spoke earlier with Chief Kyle Minnick with Lexington County Fire Services.
No, so there are no life-threatening injuries at this time. Lexington County Fire, Irmo Fire, Lexington County EMS, and Lexington County Sheriff responded out to a potential lightning strike. We did treat 20 patients on scene. 8 of those were adults. and Lexington County EMS was able to transport 12 to Lexington Medical, Park Ridge, and Richland for various injuries, but no life-threatening. All patients were transported to those facilities to be further evaluated.
And again, this lightning popping up around 5 o'clock or so this afternoon. When we have hot days like today, Chief, these things can happen as far as lightning, these storms forming out of seemingly nowhere, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that, these are conditions that typically do not show any signs that there's going to be a forecast of any showers or thunderstorms, let alone lightning strikes. But this is what was going on at the time frame. This pretty much starting at about 4:30, 4:45, in which we started seeing the showers and storms start popping up. And you could see that we had a roll of showers and thunderstorms that rolled out of Upper Richland, Central Richland, and then going into northern Lexington County. Well, this is what we were watching as it continued to develop. And the one big thing about these storms is as they moved through, very isolated lightning strikes. But unfortunately, the one sole lightning strike that we had was right in the area. Now, this is just maybe about 3 miles away from the public entrance, the public parking to the east shore of Lake Murray. The lightning strike was somewhere in the areas between Old Cherokee and Midway and number 6, somewhere within the vicinity. You're all talking a couple miles away, but even if that was the case, 1 to 2 lightning strikes, that's whenever lightning occurs, usually you want to give yourself about a 10-mile distance from any of the lightning strikes. That's what they do during sports for both college and professional. And unfortunately, we had as many as 20 people injured from that lightning strike. Now, we do have one thunderstorm that we've been watching. It's been decaying, but still, nevertheless, it's a thunderstorm that has a capability of about 50-mile-an-hour wind.
So pop-up storms have been happening fairly frequently. I see this happen down in the Carolinas, but it happened in upstate New York, happened in New Jersey, Philly, just sitting here, and all of a sudden, boom, storm just comes out of nowhere and hits the region. Okay, let's get 2 Samuel chapter 22, verse 7. They said the one lightning strike. Can you imagine? I mean, not unlucky. You got to know that the Most High God has a problem with you. If it's been one daggone lightning strike and it hits you, you know what I'm saying? Miles away from this storm. They said it was nice outside. You know, it's the Most High when it looks clear in the sky and bam, you get struck by lightning. 2 Samuel chapter 22, verse 7, and reads, in my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried to my God, and he did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears. Verse 14, the Lord thundereth from heaven, and the Most High uttereth his voice, and he sent out arrows and scattered them, lightning and discomforted them. Let's watch the next video.
A scary incident in South Carolina is serving as a harsh reminder of how dangerous lightning can be. 20 people treated after a lightning strike.
WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards is live for us this morning. And Destiny, this all comes during National Lightning Safety Awareness Week.
Wow.
That's right, Lisa. This was a crazy situation where people were taken to hospitals. It was a sunny day, too, with no storm directly overhead. But officials are definitely warning people just to not let their guard down when it comes to lightning strikes, especially when you're out on the water. Now, this happened in South Carolina. More than a dozen people were taken to area hospitals in Lexington County yesterday after a lightning strike on Lake Murray. Officials say 20 people were assessed at the scene, 8 adults and 12 children, and at least 12 were transported. Prisma Health says it saw 15 patients overall, but everyone is expected to be okay. According to the Irmo Fire Department, lightning hit the water and energized a metal cable with buoys on it in the swimming area. Several people were holding on to the cable or were nearby when the lightning hit. The department says it was a bright and sunny day at the lake with clouds nearby, but not overhead. And that just shows that it doesn't need to be raining for lightning to be a threat. With storms expected in the Charlotte area later today, you want to make sure
you're prepared, and have a lightning plan if you're going out on the water. And we do have a list of some simple safety checks. Check the forecast and use our WCNC weather app to help you track lightning in the area. And you've heard this before, if thunder roars, go indoors. Get to a fully enclosed building or a hard-topped car. Avoid tents, shelters, and especially trees. Avoid plumbing, corded electronics, and windows while you're inside. And stay put for 30 minutes after the last roar of thunder before going back outside. Now, if you happen to see someone who is struck by lightning, you need to call 911 immediately.
Okay, so I think we got the gist of that story. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. We're going to start at verse 18. All right, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 18. He shall put on righteousness as a breastplate and a true judgment instead of a helmet. He shall take holiness for an invincible shield. His severe wrath shall be sharpened for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise. Verse 21, then shall the right aiming thunderbolts go abroad, and from the clouds as from a well-drawn bow, they shall fly to their mark. Yeah, that just hit them out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice outside. Life is good. Life is good. I don't know what all the 20 people look like, but they interviewed the mother, and she was Esau. And obviously her son got struck by, not obviously, but her son got struck by lightning. So Esau as well, I'm assuming. And at right aiming thunderbolt hit their mark. Doesn't pay to be an Edomite nowadays, you know? Must be getting scary, you know, but guess that's it's the price you pay when you're messing with God and his chosen people. Speaking of messing with God and his chosen people, this story comes out of Philadelphia, where some of the most racist police officers on the face of the planet harassed Jake, telling him to get on the sidewalk, got on the sidewalk, and tased him on the sidewalk. Okay. Jake, he talked back, you know what I mean? He talked back, you know, he stood his ground for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Let's get Matthew 5:25. He stood his ground for a little bit, right? Thinking that, you know, he was gonna really stand up to these cops, you know what I'm saying? But when you yell back at him, it's going to provoke a reaction. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Some days, really, you just like, I don't feel like it, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of y'all. You might have knew the cop personally, always harassing them, and he was speaking back to the cop. You know what I mean? Like, yo, don't touch me. Don't put your hands on me. You know what I mean? But under the law, you know, of America, they do whatever they want, man. Even if it says they're not allowed to do it, they still do it because the judge will have their back. You know what I'm saying? But the Most High, you know, has the last laugh in certain situations. It's the same day that an Edomite was convicted of shooting a cop in North Philly. This story broke. It might have broke the day before, I'm not sure, but right around the same time. So, you know, God will take them out of here. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be through bullets. It could be through on the job having a heart attack. It could be on the job having a car accident. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to always be bullets, but God will revenge. So we got to keep in mind, God will take care of it. You know what I'm saying? We got to put these scriptures in our minds. You know what I'm saying? Because they will try to provoke you. Officer pulled me over, right? Talked about, you know, oh, you have no light on your what do you say? You have no light on your license plate, which never had a light on my license plate. So nobody has a light on their license plate. So it's one of those things, they pull you over knowing that, you know what I mean? It's like, if you don't know the law, then they can just do whatever they want to you, right? So he asked me, you have any guns or drugs in the car? I said, no. Would you say? I'm like, damn, okay. So you want me to say like, man, what the, you think you just heard me? Oh, get out the car, get out the car. He's aggressive, he's hostile. So they're trying to provoke a response. You gotta understand that these dudes have guns and they want to use them. They don't like you. In fact, they hate you. You know what I'm saying? So going with that mind state that this guy really wants to kill me. If you're gonna stand your ground, you gotta stand up and you gotta, you know what I mean? You got to stand your ground, but you can still stand your ground, not aggressively, not with fighting, because you're fighting somebody that has a gun. He's going to use it. Stand your ground, follow these laws, statutes, commandments, and then talk to the Most High. Most High, you see what just happened? You know what I mean? I know you do see what just happened, but you avenge me. You know what I'm saying? And you'd be surprised the chaos that the Lord will bring if one of his chosen is put in a situation like that. All right, let's get Matthew chapter 5 and verse 25. So I don't want to think like you always got to take the high road, you know what I mean, or whatever like that, but you're an Israelite. So you know that your prayers and your plea to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai is going to get answered. Then it's like, man, you're stupid. You look at the cop like, man, you're gonna be in bad shape, baby. You know what I'm saying? Good luck in life, you know what I'm saying? But you're gonna need it, you know what I mean? Because I curse you in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Here's my driver's license. Here's my, you know what I mean? You just let them know you about to catch it, okay? And ain't no back and forth because that's what they want. They want that back and forth. What'd you say? What'd you say? Nothing, officer. I have the right to remain silent, right? You know what I mean? You ain't gotta say nothing to him. You ain't gotta go back and forth with an angry victim, you know what I mean, that was bullied throughout high school, and now he got a badge and a gun. He thinks he's tougher than everybody. That's mental illness on his part, to think that you can come against the Lord's chosen people and get away with it. Often, though, even though our brothers and sisters are the Lord's chosen, they're not following the law, statutes, commandments. So you kind of out there, you know what I mean? You got to follow these law, statutes, commandments, and then the Most High will hear your prayers. Let's go to what I say, Matthew chapter 5, verse 25. Agree with thine adversary quickly while thou art in the way with him, lest at any time thy adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. Verily I say unto thee, thou shalt by no means come out hence till thou hast paid the uttermost farthing. They're gonna get their dollar out of you. And they might just leave you in that joint like Sandra Bland and say that you hung yourself. So you dealing with a stone cold killer, so just be smart. You know what I mean? You gotta be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Cause now they got Trump, so they just know that they real hard rocks and they try and get their bodies count up. And if they do, you know what I mean, they kill Jake, they get a GoFundMe, they get a vacation. You know what I'm saying? They get rewarded in America for killing us. So we gotta be smart. All right. But here's the video.
I'm taking you to Philadelphia. A cop decides to shove and tase a black man on the sidewalk. Here it is.
Get on the sidewalk. I don't care where you stand. Get out of my street. You're standing in the middle of the street.
Yo, you don't got your right to put your hands on it, bro.
Then turn around and don't touch the stuff. You got the right to. Let me walk. Don't bring it one more time.
Stop touching it. Stop touching it.
Get out of the street. Stop touching me. You don't do nothing, bro. You don't do nothing, dog.
Oh, some weird.
Oh, bro, he just tased me for nothing, bro. You know, so weird.
Put up the picture full mass. Obvious escalation. Obvious assault, in my opinion. Now, the viral video that shows a Philadelphia cop shoving and tasering a black male on the sidewalk after ordering him to get off the street in a...
Now, if you look at the cops' tattoos, you look deeper into it. A lot of cops in Philadelphia got in trouble for showing their tattoos because they have white supremacist lingo on them. You know what I mean? Whether we understand that, what it means or not, you know what I mean? If you look up certain tattoos, they got situations where it has like German writing on them. You know what I mean? And you might not know what that is, you know, oh, you must be German, but those are white supremacist tattoos. In California, they would have, I think it was like a skull on them, and that would mean they're part of a gang, which they have to, in order to get in part of this gang, as a police gang, you have to kill somebody or something to that effect, something pretty bad. You know what I mean? It's either you kill somebody or shoot somebody, something like that. So Philadelphia got in trouble a few years ago because they had a Facebook page, the Philadelphia police, a Facebook page where they would, it was violent and racist memes being shared on this Facebook page. Now, it was cops from all over the country on this Facebook page, but the most by capita, not by capita, the most like by number was the Philadelphia police, and that bypassed New York police and LA police, who is way more than the Philadelphia police in number. So the concentration of white supremacist Philadelphia police officers is astronomical. Now, they said the men lost their jobs, but due to their FOP, right, fraternity order of police, you immediately get your job back. You know what I'm saying? As soon as this not in the news anymore, which, a 24-hour news cycle, as soon as it's not in the news anymore, they get their job back. You know what I'm saying? And, now they're emboldened because they realize they cannot literally be fired, and they come back with back pay and everything like that. If you see this Clubhouse, the boy that they're harassing, right? He's like 6'5", 270. And this little behind cop, man, 5'4", 5 nothing, 100 and nothing, and not a speck athletic ability. If it was come down to it, and he knows it, Jake would have washed him. But he knows that he has the backing of the United States government. He has a pistol, he has a badge, he knows the judge. The judge is my friend, the judge is my uncle. You know what I'm saying? So Jake really didn't have time to get out the street. You know what I'm saying? But when he saw him coming up on him, he kind of stopped, like, yo, what are you going to do? And he pushed him. So I don't know what happened before this took place, why they're telling people to get out of the street. But once you see them show up with they got that look on their face, like they want to kill somebody, like they want to hurt you. You know what I'm saying? It's time to be like, all right, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? It's not, you're not weak. You're not a punk. You're not nothing like that. You live to see another day, and you go to the Most High, and you pray, you meditate, you know what I mean? You might have a fast, you might be real anxious, upset that this happened. And then you watch what happens. God always will avenge. If you doing what you're supposed to do, God will avenge. And you're going to see it. You know what I mean? 4 cops shot. You know what I'm saying? 1 down, 1 didn't make it. You like, damn, God ain't playing. 4 cops were involved in a car accident. 1 went through the windshield. And you be like, and that's when, let's get Psalm 112. That's when you realize, man, we on some next level thing here, man. He could have swung on a cop and he would have been in jail for 5 years. Or the cop might have pulled out a gun and shot him. He doesn't have to go to jail. They could have killed him, right? You go to the Most High God and you see what he does. Let's go to Psalm 112, verse 8. His heart is established. He shall not be afraid until he seeth his desire upon his enemies. Then you're going to be looking like, damn, God ain't no joke. And then you really going to know that you have power because you have Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right, let's continue.
The clear escalation of interaction has caused outrage. The cop, who has now been identified as Officer Christopher O'Donnell, Officer O'Donnell continued to shove the black male.
O'Donnell, that's Irish. Oh man, we were enslaved too, man. You know, we understand what you guys are going through. All these Edomite cops, a lot of them are Irish. Some of the most racist people on the planet in the United States are Irish. The original slave catchers, Irish. You know? So don't let them fool you like, oh man, I understand your pain. My people were oppressed too. And look at them leading the cause, leading the troops in oppressing. Let's continue.
Pulling out his taser and firing the taser at him, even after the black male was already on the sidewalk, forcing the black male to walk onto the other street. The black male, who has only been identified as Darren, as of this writing, was charged with assault on a police officer, according to his girlfriend, who posted the video on Instagram. However, the video clearly shows it was the cop assaulting Darren. Let's get into what the city officials are saying. I'm the chair of the PHL Commission on Human Relations, and I've tagged several members of City Council. I will ask the commission to look into this and connect with the community. Can you DM me where this occurred and around what time? Another commenter was Philadelphia City Council Councilman Kenyatta Johnson, who commented saying, quote, yeah, this ain't cool, I'm on it. Another, all right, so put it up full mass, the Philadelphia Police Department, they were another one that was tagged several times. They have not addressed the incident on their social media pages. So let's go back to the image of the cop. It can't be this difficult to find out the identity of not only the cop, but also the circumstances that led to this. So we know the cop's name. However, the investigation is still not on record. This cop should be under investigation, which also means that likely comes with a suspension of duties or a suspension of active duties and a recourse for the individual, Mr. Darren, who has been charged with a crime when clearly no crime was committed. Why do cops do this? In plain view of witnesses, multiple cameras, multiple camera angles, and multiple witness viewpoints, this cop still decided to charge this black male with assaulting him when the video evidence is clearly contrary to the narrative or the notion that he somehow assaulted an officer. In addition to that, the police report that was likely utilized in order to justify the arrest of this man had to be falsified. Because in order for the arrest to be made and for the charges to stick, this cop had to write an order or complaint that basically said a lie. Well, now you're in violation of oath. You have a violation of oath of office. And as I've said before, when a cop engages in falsifying their own police report, which provides the prerequisite order for the arrest, if they lie, they have violated oath of office. If that is not part of the charge, the fix is in. Because a conviction for violation of oath of office, regardless of if it had to do with your lies on a report or some other form of corruption, that would disqualify you from ever becoming a cop again. That one charge, that one. All right, Sharon, here we go. Clear view, daylight, multiple camera angles, multiple witnesses. What say you?
Well, disturbing to watch. There's many things that I enjoy about my beloved Philadelphia. Cheesesteaks, pretzels, and there's other things that remind me too much of Philly too. This looked like it would be under the tenure of former police commissioner Mayor Frank Rizzo, where there was a lot of abuse and a U.S. Department of Justice lawsuit for the way minorities were treated by Philly cops. Don't want to indict all of them, Doc, but this is disgusting. You're absolutely right. The devil's in the details. And I'm concerned that this officer needs treatment for whatever's going on with him, but got to get him off the streets.
Yeah. And sometimes being arrested and held accountable for your actions, well, that's treatment as well.
Thank you, Doc.
All right. We'll bring updates, Esther.
Lock them up. Lock them up, man. You know, but Israel is not going to get any better. All right. It's not going to get any better. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it will get better. It will get better. Slack for that. It will get better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But eventually when it's understood who you are and what you stand for and who you represent, these cops might think twice. But at the same time, the Most High might continue to have them go down this hole to get our people whip our people in shape. You know what I mean? So that brother will be out there wearing fringes. You know what I'm saying? Following the law, statutes, commandments. You know, not victim blaming, just understanding the circumstances. Remember, Esau is the Most High's sword. Okay? The wicked is his sword. Obtained to Psalm 17 and 13. All right, so last video, last segment is our health segment. Okay. We got to continue to build up our bodies, build up our minds, build up our spiritual, physical, emotional, on all levels, working to be the best we can be in these days. Okay. We're going to talk about pomegranate today. All right. Let's get Numbers chapter 13 and verse 23. All right. Numbers 13, verse 23. And they came unto the brook of Eshcol and cut down from hence a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they bare it upon two staffs, and they brought of the pomegranates and of the figs. So of course, at this time, scoping out the scene, you know what I mean, coming out of captivity, coming out 40 years in the wilderness, you know, looking at the land of Canaan, what you got over there. They said, man, they got some grub too. You know what I'm saying? They got a couple things, right? What they say, grapes, pomegranates, and figs. And this place called the brook Eshcol because of the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from hence. And they returned from searching the land after 40 days. And they went and came to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel unto the wilderness of Paran and Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and unto all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. Them pomegranates, man. Pomegranates good for you. All right, let's check that out.
Hey guys, welcome to another video. I think a lot of people know that pomegranates are healthy, but it hasn't been until the last few years where there's been a lot of research showing just how healthy they are. Now, the pomegranate has made some other recent history, including being at the center of a heated courtroom battle. 5 years ago, a United States federal court and the Federal Trade Commission came down hard on the company POM Wonderful for false advertising about the benefits of the pomegranate. They ruled that the company used misleading health claims about their pomegranate juice and supplements in some of their advertisements. The U.S. Supreme Court had even declined to hear the case. The irony is that pomegranates don't need any hype. The pomegranate is a fleshy berry and a great source of fiber, vitamin C, vitamin K, iron, and potassium. They're also rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. Many studies in humans indicate that pomegranates are an excellent defense against several diseases. They also contain a precursor to a powerful anti-aging molecule called urolithin A. The most significant source of its antioxidative properties is a chemical called punicalagin, a member of the family of elegitannins found in the edible portion of the fruit. When we eat a pomegranate, our gut bacteria convert elegitannins into urolithin A. To understand why urolithin A slows down the aging process, we need to look at how our muscles age. 90% of our energy stems from microscopic structures in our cells called mitochondria. The cells in your body contain billions of tiny, probably trillions of tiny little mitochondria. You can think of them like mini batteries. In order for your body to work well, our bodies need to repair and sometimes replace defective, damaged, and old mitochondria. So when mitochondria are damaged or defective, they self-destruct through a process called mitophagy. And once this happens, your cells make brand new mitochondria. During this process, dysfunctional and toxic elements in our cells are then recycled or eliminated. When we're younger, the mitophagy process happens more often, but when the process of mitophagy slows down with age, toxins may not be recycled or removed fast enough. So this makes our body cells age faster, including muscle. Studies on humans and animals reveal that in the elderly, walking slower and poor muscle strength is associated with poor mitochondrial function. Improving mitophagy in older people has been shown to slow muscle strength decline from aging. Maintaining a regular exercise regimen triggers the production of new mitochondria and boosts energy in our skeletal muscle cells when we age. A study showed that urolithin A promoted mitophagy, produced more mitochondria, and helped improve mitochondrial function in elderly individuals. These effects of urolithin A mimicked how a regular exercise regimen benefits our muscles and helps us retain energy even when we're older. Additionally, several rat and animal studies showed that urolithin A increased endurance levels in young and old rats by improving muscle health. So does that mean that urolithin A and exercise combined have an even greater effect? Probably, but this is still an unknown. The effect of urolithin A on humans is underway, but the early results do look promising. And while we're on the topic of more energy, I'm excited to announce that I created a new online course on how to maximize your energy levels. And I'll put a link in the description below for you to learn more about that. Our gut is a collection of digestive organs that includes the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, aka the colon. So there's 100 trillion bacteria in our digestive systems. Having a diverse range of the good bacteria in our gut is extremely healthy, and they're collectively known as the gut microbiome or the gut flora. So our gut microbiome, it regulates our immunity, it prevents inflammation, fights against diseases, produces important vitamins like vitamin K, and helps our body absorb nutrients from our food and creates and regulates essential hormones. Not only that, but good gut health also affects our sleep, memory, moods, and mental health. When digested, pomegranates act as a prebiotic. After digesting a pomegranate, some of the breakdown products include gallic acid, ellagic acid, and glucose. Bacteria in the colon then convert that into something called urolithin A. So these natural substances keep our gut microbiome healthy, similar to a prebiotic. Prebiotics are fiber-rich plant foods that promote the growth of the good bacteria in our gut. Urolithin A promotes the growth of good bacteria like bifidobacteria and lactobacilli, while suppressing harmful bacteria like Clostridia. However, there is a catch. Much of our gut microbiome composition is determined at birth, and many lifestyle factors like smoking, alcohol, a bad diet, too much exposure to antibiotics, these can all hurt our good gut bacteria. Suppose someone doesn't have the right gut bacteria to make urolithin A from L-argintannins. In that case, they can't access the anti-aging, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant properties of urolithin A. More urolithin A related studies are underway to determine the benefits of ingesting urolithin A directly, so even people who can't produce urolithin A naturally can reap its benefits. Also, urolithin A produced by fecal bacteria is used to increase short-chain fatty acid production in our body. Short-chain fatty acids, they provide energy to the cells lining our gut and are significant to gut health. They also help our body digest carbohydrates and fat. Short-chain fatty acids help lower inflammation in our gut and keep our gut microbiome functioning well. Certain cells in our colon, called colon fibroblasts, play a vital role in regulating our immune response. Since they line our colon, they're often exposed to byproducts of the food that we digest. If these cells become agitated by something we eat, we may have to deal with chronic inflammation through our bodies. During this inflammation, the immune regulating signals of the colon fibroblast cells may be altered and can lead to IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, and it can even lead to colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths. Urolithin is a family of molecules that includes urolithin A and B. When we eat a pomegranate, L-glutanins in that fruit are then converted to urolithin A and B inside of our colon. In lab tests, when inflammation-producing cells were exposed to urolithin A and B and ellagic acid at similar concentrations found in the colon, it resulted in an anti-inflammatory response. Further studies showed that urolithin A was the main active compound that produced this effect. These studies demonstrate the potential anti-inflammatory and anti-carcinogenic effects of urolithin. Also, the prebiotic effect of urolithin stimulates the production of short-chain fatty acids, which maintain colon health and help prevent colon cancer. Pomegranate has been shown to have a positive effect on cardiovascular health as well. So pomegranate juice can reduce triglyceride levels, improve high-density cholesterol, and lower blood pressure in hemodialysis patients based on a study. Also, pomegranate helps reduce the cardiovascular risk in diabetic and obese individuals. While lab results are promising, more conclusive human studies are needed. As a rule of thumb, eating fruit raw is much better for you than drinking their juice. With pomegranate juice, you get a more concentrated version of multiple pomegranates in one bottle. However, pomegranates are high in sugar. Juice in general eliminates the dietary fiber found in fruit, and without their essential fiber, your blood sugar levels can spike. Here is the USDA nutritional information for raw pomegranate and that for bottled pomegranate juice. So what's the final takeaway from this video? Pomegranates are super healthy. They're high in fiber, vitamins, and other nutrients. They can act as prebiotics, and their anti-inflammatory properties can help keep our gut healthy. Preliminary studies in the elderly also showed that the byproducts of digesting pomegranates can help improve endurance and muscle strength and rejuvenate mitochondria for more energy and slow the aging process. While more studies in humans are required before pomegranate juice or extracts can be certified as protective against cancer and cardiovascular disease, preliminary research is promising. Certain bacteria in our gut can digest pomegranates to make urolithin A, the molecule linked to several health benefits. However, individuals who don't have this gut bacteria may not produce urolithin. In this case, directly ingesting urolithin A may be helpful. So that's going to be all for this video. I appreciate you watching.
All right, so Israel, let's eat healthy. You know what I'm saying? Healthy body, healthy mind. That all goes hand in hand. Reading the scriptures, meditating, focusing on the word of God. Can keep us in the right mind state, you know what I'm saying? Getting further and further away from mental illness. Okay. You know, like I said, the certain foods, you never know what I mean, they make a lot of our foods that we eat, these processed foods, they're made in laboratories. Okay. So if it's not natural, try to stay away from it because you don't know. You know, they call it whatever they want, but what'd he say? You eat the wrong foods, it could alter your mood. You know what I'm saying? You alter your mood, start getting down on yourself, depressed, you're not eating healthy, your body's not expelling waste as it should, you know, due to all these processed foods, you're backed up. And then, you know, from there, it could be a downhill spiral. You know, your health is very important. Your health starts getting away from you, start getting depressed, stop reading more, stop getting, you know, going doing the feast days. You know, it could spiral into dealing with spirits, and as the whole class is called mental illness. Okay, so body, mind, soul, everything. Let's all build it up. Okay. All right. Water for staying on and listening to the class. I appreciate it. All praises to the Most High. Hopefully you learned something. Let's close out in prayer. Give you a couple seconds to face these. All right, this is the Lord's Prayer in Paleo Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Ayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakbaka, Daba'a, Ratazayaka, Ayah, Aisha, Baratazah, Kawa, Ayah, Bashamayim, Nadananawa, Lacham, Kal, Yawam, Wasalafnawa, Kabawahnawa, Kasalah Nawa, Kawaf Yinawa, Wala'a, Dabi Nawa, Banasai 1, Abal, Hawashai Nawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Wa'ala, Wataparaf, Libalumyum, Aman. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 9. After this manner, therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. O Lord, Yahweh Hashem, and Mashiach Yahushua, we come to you humble and shamefaced in these last days. Baba Kashar, Baba Kashar, Baba Kashar, uplift us at the same time, simultaneously bringing down our enemies, protect us, but at the same time taking away any protection that the enemy has. Give us knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and at the same time confusing, frustrating the enemy. Hear our prayers, and at the same time reject any type of intervention from our enemies. And please continue to, Abubakar Kashar, continue the prophecies happening around the four corners of the earth. Show us great signs and wonders. Increase our hope, increase our faith, increase our knowledge in these last days. And we will continue to uplift your name, Yahweh Shema Mashiach Yahushai, throughout the four corners of the earth. In Yahweh's name we pray. Amen. Ken, all right, the water for coming on to the class, and we'll see what happens next week. From week to week, it's very hard to gauge what is going to happen next, but we do know one thing, that it ain't gonna stop. All right. So now is the best time to repent, you know what I mean? And focusing, on the Most High, focusing on His Word, and man, do the best you can, man. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's going to be a judgment. We got to do the best we can. Lay it all on the line, okay? Yahweh Shemel Shabrakathon. Shalom.